Welcome to Phed 1164, Intro to Physical Fitness and Wellness. This is a hybrid class. Are all of you aware that this is a hybrid? We won't be meeting every Monday. Everybody on the same page? I see yes. Okay. So my name is Greg Finora. I'll be your instructor. I've been with the college since 2007. I've been teaching this class for since 2007, but the hybrid class I've been teaching for the last 5 years. This will be our only class meeting here at Creekside, and we'll go over where we're going to be meeting our next Monday meeting, which will be, I'll tell you when that is. But basically, this course pretty much is a course that's designed to help you with developing a lifestyle that is about wellness, fitness, physical fitness, and basically just creating a healthy lifestyle for yourself. I'm going to go over a few things first about this overview of the class. Then we'll get into the syllabus. I'm going to have you do a couple little small activities, nothing where you're going to be getting up and running around, but just to kind of get a few pieces of information from you. But basically, this particular class, you're gonna be doing like a self-paced program where all of your coursework will be done through D2L, and then we will meet several times this semester to actually perform some physical tests, okay, where you'll actually come in and do a workout, okay? So unlike the face-to-face class, this particular class, there's pros and cons to both situations. Face-to-face class, you have an instructor that's going to be with you maybe 2 days a week. They'll be taking you into the weight room, to the cardio room, doing program development, that kind of thing. With this class, you're pretty much on your own, and we do everything through D2L. I will try to coach you as much as possible, give you strategies through the D2L program, but you're going to have to pretty much do all of the workouts on your own. So that's where there's a little bit of a compromise, where you have the leniency and the freedom of having an online class, but then at the same time you really have to kind of devote yourself to be consistent with the workout routine. Does that make sense? We're all on the same page with that? Okay. So just a little bit about the course. And we'll get into the syllabus in just a minute. Fitness and Wellness, this is the textbook that you guys will need. You can order it, have a hard copy, you can do the online download, whatever you want, but you will need a copy of this book, okay? So make sure that you get a copy of the book, and the book is in the syllabus, so you won't have to worry about writing anything down today. There's basically 9 chapters in this book. Intro to Physical Fitness and Wellness is the first chapter. Basically just learning a little bit about the importance of physical fitness, activity guidelines, behavior, motivation strategies, that type of thing. Chapter 2 is about assessment of physical fitness. This is where you'll learn about health-related components, muscular strength, endurance, flexibility, body composition, those type of things. The third chapter is exercise prescription. That's where you'll learn about the FIT principle, which is where you talk about the frequency of your exercise program, the intensity of what you're doing, the time, and the mode, okay? What kind of activity are you doing, okay? Type, okay? Evaluating fitness activities, you'll learn about the benefits of aerobic activity, the sequence of a standard aerobic workout, ways to enhance what you might already be doing, or if you're not on a regular program right now, this will help you with maybe developing something that works for you, okay? Nutrition and Wellness is chapter 5. This is a pretty lengthy chapter, but you'll get acquainted with things like understanding the relationship between diet and wellness, the USDA guidelines, eating disorders, and also the dietary guidelines as well. The next chapter talks about weight management. So you'll learn strategies about some of the myths that are involved with managing weight. It goes into identifying what fad diets are, crash diets, those type of things. Also weight control, and then programming and behavior modification. So what are some things that you can do to help change your own behavior? Because that's what a lot of this is about, is changing your behavior to live a healthy lifestyle, basically. Stress management, which is an outstanding chapter, how it affects health and performance, sources of stress, the role of exercise in stress, and then different types of management techniques that you might already be doing, or just some things that might be beneficial for you to start thinking about doing to help you get to where you want to be in terms of a healthy lifestyle. And then the chapter 8 is a healthy lifestyle approach. This is about the importance of a healthy lifestyle, prevention guidelines, that type of stuff. And then the last chapter is more of an overview of the course itself. Okay, so that's kind of a summary, really, of the book and what the book is going to entail. And it's actually a really good read, and I think all of you will find it very helpful. It's not very long. Chapters are very short, and it's very to the point with not a lot of jargon in it. Okay. So this brings me to my next question to you is why exactly are you taking this class? Why are you here? And I have a 3x5 card on your table that I gave each of you, and if you didn't pick one up, they're in the back here next to the sign-in sheet. I just want you to in one sentence, basically, what do you want to get out of this class? Okay, based on some of the stuff that I just talked about, is there some reason why you took this class outside of it just being a requirement? Is there something that you want to get out of this class, something you'd like to learn more about? So in one sentence or less, you don't have to write a novel. I just want something real quick. What do you expect to get out of this class? And what would you like to get out of this class? Okay? So just take a couple minutes and jot that down for me. So just a few little bits of information about me. I told you I've been working with the college for about seven or 8 years now. My full-time job is actually in education. I'm a former coach. I was actually a sports medicine trainer for a number of years. I've taught high school. I work now in compliance with special education in Houston ISD. I basically am a program person. I'm assigned to elementary schools, and I help them with all their programming. So I've been around kids pretty much my whole career. I've been in education. And one of the things that I've always liked is you learn best from kids and what you teach kids and what you expect kids to learn. So do I have any parents in here? How many of you have kids? Okay. So as a parent, you set the foundation for your children. You set the rules. You expect them. It's always about being their friend. It's about setting rules, expectations, and following through. And not only telling them how you want something done or how something should be done, but also be an example and actually doing it yourself. So what you'll find is I like to use a lot of videos that are really geared towards kids. I'm going to show you this video about the importance of physical activity, and just take it in. Maybe jot down one thing out of this video that sticks out to you, and then we'll just kind of follow up right after we watch this video. apply to most of us. Trying to squeeze in workouts, you know, in our busy schedules, especially, you know, if you work full time, have a family, you know, all those things play into that. Okay.
Created using Powtoon.
All right. So again, it's really, really important that we stay physically active. Okay. It doesn't mean that you have to do CrossFit every day. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to go out and do, high intensity workouts every day. You know, you don't have to be an elite athlete. You know, physical activity is basically doing things that you enjoy doing. Okay, and I'm going to show you another video in a minute about that relates more to that. So one of the things that you're going to have to do in this class is really get on a regimen of just being active. Okay, and we'll talk about what that looks like in terms of, well, what does that mean? What do I have to do? You're going to be keeping a log, and your log can have a variety of different things. I mean, it could be you went on a hike this weekend, you did some fun stuff that was outside, that's activity. So that's being physically active. It's not just about running every day or going to the gym and working out and doing one of those routines. That's not what this is about. But you are going to be held accountable for a physical skill test, which we'll get to. But to be active in general, for those of you who aren't on a current program, that's what you have to establish first, okay? This class, we're going to have 3 face-to-face meetings, okay? Today is the first one, and our next 2 will be on those dates, and this is all in your course, so you don't need to write this down. Unfortunately, Creekside is new, so we don't have a facility here yet for a wellness center. So our next 2 class meetings will actually be at Tomball College, Lone Star Tomball. So just go ahead and make arrangements. This is our normal meeting day. We'll meet like our normal class time, but we'll just, instead of meeting here, we'll be meeting at Tomball at the Wellness Center. And I'll be giving you many reminders prior to, so that way we're all on the same page, because that's where we'll be doing our physical skill testing. Okay. I'm gonna focus on the things that you need to do to be successful in this class. And a lot of it has to do with the physical fitness part of it, okay? And being active and doing your workouts and logging them and doing those type of things. That's the biggest part of your grade in this class. You're gonna need to commit to a weekly cardiovascular exercise program, okay? So whatever that looks like for you, it's gonna look different for each of you. You know, some of you are active, you go to the gym already every day, so your weekly schedule is going to look very different from somebody who might not have had a program started or is just, starting this for the first time, okay? So don't worry about what you're doing versus what someone else is doing. The first step is just committing to doing that weekly, okay? And then number 2 is complete weekly cardio logs and weekly assignments. Okay, another kid video for you.
Exercise is so cool. One reason is it keeps our heart healthy. Did you know your heart is a muscle working hard, pumping blood every day? Your heart needs exercise to stay strong. Aerobic exercise gives your heart the kind of workout it needs. The word aerobic means with air. So, activities that really get our heart pumping are aerobic exercises. So make your heart happy. Get moving. Be a fit kid. Healthy for life. Fit kid!
Okay, so I showed you the Fit Kid one because I want you to see that, you can go swimming, you can swim, you can jog, you can walk, you can take your dogs out for a walk. You can do all those things as part of your weekly program, okay? However, when we get to the skill test part in just a second here, you're going to see that there is a component that you're also going to have to work in each week, which is what am I going to be tested on in the class? And so that's going to be something that we focus on as well, that you do on a weekly basis. But outside of that one part that's going to be the difficult part, the part that you're not going to really enjoy doing, because it's like a sub-maximal test. It's like doing a physical fitness exam, You're going to be tested and you're going to be put to the extreme and you're going to be challenging yourself because you want to get the best time if you're doing a run or walk, or if you're doing a bike test, you want to do go the furthest distance that you can in the allotted time that you have. So you're going to be challenging yourself to do the best you can, okay? But outside of that, you need to be doing physical activity during the week, which means that it should be stuff that's enjoyable. Because again, a wellness program is something that you're doing long term. It's not just about today or tomorrow or getting through this class. It's about changing your lifestyle and starting to do something a little bit different than what you're normally doing. And the best way to do that is by doing things involving yourself and stuff that's fun, okay? That is enjoyable, okay? So that's going to be the challenge for your part, okay? So choosing activities you like. So I showed you that video because I wanted you to get a glimpse of the fact that you need to consider things that are going to be a variety of things to do. You don't want to do the same redundant things over and over and over, okay? Try different things. If you're not an outdoorsy type person, then just try to find some things that you can do that are going to be within what you find enjoyable, okay? So for some of you that are already active, this may be easy for you. Those of you who are maybe a little bit more sedentary, you you have no problem sitting in the house all weekend watching TV and movies, okay, that's fine, but you need to get out and start something, okay? So you need to find things that you're interested in, okay? I can't help you with that, I can only give you some ideas, and we'll talk about that as we move along in the course each week, okay? You'll have plenty of questions as to, does this count as a workout, or does this count as a workout? You can ask me those questions and I will let you know, and we'll talk about that as a group, okay? So, you're going to be keeping a log, as I said earlier, okay? This is an example right here, and this is all in your course, but this is an example of what the log will look like that you'll be actually completing, okay? Basically, it's just going to have name, age, you're going to put some target heart rate information in there, which we're about to go over. I'm going to explain that, which is that sheet you have on your desk right now, the white sheet, the Carbonin formula. And then what you're going to do is each week, you're basically going to do this. Okay, you're going to fill in the dates. You can do multiple workouts on a day if that's what you do. Some of you might work out in the morning, might work out in the evening, so you put both those on there. They count individually. And then you just tell me basically what you did. You know, I ran today, I went hiking today, I went on a canoe trip with some friends. You don't have to put friends, but you can just say canoeing. And then there's going to be a piece that you're going to have to do which involves heart rate, and then documenting, okay, well, maybe I don't know how much distance I did, but I know how long I was doing it. So maybe you went on a 3-hour hike, but you didn't really keep track of your distance. But most of us who have a smartphone, you can do that pretty easy without any problem. So we'll talk about the information that goes on your log, and I'll know that in some cases you might not have all the information, and then in other cases you will. If you could sign in for me, please, on all those sheets. So that's just an example of what the log looks like, and don't worry, I'll explain more in a few minutes. But before you do that, you know, we're going to need to understand a little bit about, well, what is my target heart rate and how do I calculate that, okay? And basically, you know, target heart rate is just going to be, you know, a rate that is based on your age, your maximum heart rate, your individual resting heart rate, and you're going to plug that into a formula, and you're going to come up with a range of numbers, okay? And that's going to be your range of numbers that you want to try to exercise in. So to give you a little bit more information about target heart rate, this is basically how it's calculated. Okay, so this is the sheet that you have that you picked up at the front, okay? And it's very, very self-explanatory. And this is what you're going to be working on this first week, the first couple of days this week. I'm going to have you every morning. I'd like you to do this 3 days in a row, or just 3 days during this next week. Preferably first thing in the morning is the best time to check your heart rate. Okay, as long as you've gotten a pretty decent sleep. You wake up, you're probably the most refreshed first thing in the morning before your day gets started. You're going to basically take your heart rate for 3 days. Okay. I have a couple of videos also in our week 1 folder, which will show you guys, if you have never taken your heart rate before manually. There's a couple of videos to do it manually. A all of you pretty much with your smartphones now, you have your sensors on your phones that also take your heart rate, so you can use your phone as well. So if you use the apps on your phone, feel free to do that as well. I mean, either way is fine. Preferably for me, when I'm exercising, I just like to do it the old-fashioned way. I mean, it's just easier for me. I've been doing it a long time, and once you start doing it, you develop a routine and you know how to check your pulse. Okay, so I'll have a couple good instructional videos to show you on that. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take your heart rate for 3 days. Once you get your heart rate average, then you're going to basically calculate your maximum heart rate, which is what we just saw in that video. You'll take 220, the same number for all of you, subtract it from your age. That'll give you your maximum heart rate. Okay, that's just using this simple formula right here. I put this one on here just as an example because there are other examples out there how to calculate. You pretty much will come up with the same numbers, but I always like to have an option in there for you just if you want to test it out and see what it looks like. And then basically once you have your heart rate, maximum heart rate, you're just going to plug it into this formula, okay? And then you're going to do some math, and then you're going to get your numbers. And what I'm going to show you next is, okay, so this is a completed one. So what you have in front of you, and if all of you did not get one of those forms, how many of you do not have one on your, in front of you? Just raise your hand. Okay. So on this form, pretty simple thing to calculate. As you see in blue, those are basically, as an example, 3 days of checking your heart rate. Okay, so on day 1, check the heart rate. This particular person got a 70 for their resting heart rate. Day 2, it was 75, and day 3, it was 69. Now, there's going to be error, okay? Especially if you're doing it manually. You may not be able to feel the pulses and access the right number every time. There's probably going to be a little bit of error also when you use your phone. Okay, so don't get too caught up in it being exact. Okay, again, it's just going to be a kind of a ballpark idea, a ballpark number of where you actually are. So it's not always going to be completely accurate. Add those up, do the math, you get your average. You fill in the numbers, and this is all in your course. I'm just showing you so you can see what it looks like. And then you get this information here, okay? If you notice on lines 1 and 2, you have the same data in the first 3 columns. And the reason for that is when you get to number 4, like in the video, it said you should be working out between what percentages? Do you remember the percentages? 60 and 80, okay? Some might say 55 and 85. Those who are a little bit more fit, they might even go up into 85 range, no problem, okay? Vigorous activity tends to be working in that 70 to 85% range. So if you're doing high intensity work, if you're doing moderate intensity, you're probably somewhere between the 60 and 70 or 55 to 70 range. And then if you're in the very low range, you're probably somewhere closer to 60 or 40 to 60. Okay. There's even a recommendation that if you have not done any exercise in a while, or you have a history of cardiovascular disease or obesity, that you should actually start at 40%, just to give yourself a starting point, and then work yourself up. Okay. But overall, we're going to stick with 60 to 80. Okay, and it's just kind of a recommendation. Yes.
Can we go up to the anabolic rate?
Oh yeah. You are in control of of yourself. So if you feel that you can go into the 85 range and it's not a problem, yeah, do it. Absolutely, challenge yourself. And again, it's just as far as figuring out what your target zone is. This is mainly just to give you a 60 to 80% range. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in that range, but when you are doing exercise, it's a good place to start, so that way you start getting to learn your body. How many of you do this on a regular basis when you exercise? Okay, just maybe 1 or 2 of you. Okay, how many of you knew how to do this before or had seen this before today? Okay. How many of you know what your target zone is right now? Okay, just a couple of you. So again, when you talk about a fitness program, an exercise program, a wellness program, whatever your goal is, there is a science behind it, and there is information behind it that is meaningful, okay? So it's just like in any job that you do, or a class that you take, okay? If you want to be successful in a class, you have to do what? Study. If you want to be successful at your job, what do you have to do? Do your job, know your job, be flexible, all those things come into play. In order to be successful in a wellness program, okay, you need to have some background knowledge. You don't just get up one day and say, okay, I'm going to decide to work out today because spring break is coming up and I want to look good in my bathing suit, or I have a wedding to go to in 3 months, or what have you. You need to understand some science behind it, okay? It's just building a foundation. And for some of you, this is, everyday stuff. For a lot of you, it might be new, okay? So I might be preaching to the choir to a few of you, and for some others, this might be brand new information. So really, once you get through all the math, number 7 and number 9 are the 2 areas that you're going to focus on. That's your range. So for this particular person who's 20 years old, has a resting heart rate average of 71, this formula tells us that at 60%, their heart rate should be about 148, and at the high end, it should be 174, okay? So why is that important? Okay, well, when you divide that by 6, you get beats per 10 seconds. So if I'm exercising, and I've done 15-minute run, and I want to stop and see what my heart rate is. I can stop, I can check my pulse for 10 seconds, okay? Or I can check my pulse for 10 seconds with my phone. Or if I'm on a machine at the gym and I'm on the treadmill, I can stop and check my pulse for 10 seconds using the sensors. And then what I can do is, if I'm doing it by the manual way with my wrist, with my radial artery or my carotid, then I can check to see if I'm in my range. So if this is me and I'm 15 minutes into my workout, okay, and I'm at 10. I count 10, but I'm huffing and puffing, but I'm at 10. What is that? What kind of information does that tell you about me, about the formula? Okay, I'm out of shape, okay? All right, so I'm out of shape, but what does it also tell me about where I am in terms of my target zone?
Too high?
Too high or too low? I'm at 10. I count 10. 60% is 25, 80% is 29, and I'm at 10. So am I even in my zone? No. Okay. But is that a good or bad thing? No. So there's no right or wrong answers here. So I'm not trying to trick you, but what that tells me is that, okay, I might be a person, like this gentleman said, I'm out of shape. I've not done much exercise, but I'm out there trying to run, so I might need to slow it down a little bit, okay? And then gradually get more into it. On the other end, I could be in shape. Let's say I'm fit. I'm an elite athlete, and I'm trying to, train vigorously, and I want to be up in this 80 percentile at 29. So I'm almost completed with my workout, and I decide to check my pulse, okay? And I'm at 25. And I'm towards the end, but I want to be doing a vigorous workout, and I want to be challenging myself, and I want to be up in my 80, 85 percentile range. So if I check my pulse and I'm at 25, and I'm almost done with my workout, what does that tell you?
Keep working out.
Okay, keep working out, but what else?
Get more vigorous.
More vigorous, okay? Increase the what? Intensity, okay? How can you increase intensity?
Wait.
Okay, it could be weights, it could be what else?
Faster,
Go faster, longer, what else? What else can you do on a treadmill?
increase the incline.
The incline. Okay, so these are all different factors that you can do to change all those different things, all right? So, does this make sense to all of you? Pretty straightforward? Okay, all right. So that's going to be something that you do first this week, all right? So, the next thing then is, let's look at our workout log again, okay? These are basically the things that I want to see on your workout log. Now, I know this is going to be a little challenging, because it's going to require you to actually kind of, keep track of what you're doing and recording it. But this is the only way that I can see what you're doing. Now, when we get into the syllabus and you see how many points the log is worth, you're going to know why it's only worth 7% of your grade. Because all of you could sit behind your couch at home and just write whatever you want on there, okay, and turn it in, okay? And that's not really what I'm after. What I want to see is I'm hoping that you're doing what you're saying you're doing, so that way when I look at your data, I can kind of self-evaluate and help you a little bit, okay? Provide you some input, ask you some questions, you know, about your heart rate, or make sure that you're putting in what's appropriate, okay? The basic things that I need from you is the date of your workout, the exercise, what did you do? You don't have to write a long explanation, as I said earlier. Just keep it short and sweet. I ran, I walked, swimming, whatever, video, okay? There's a lot of people are doing CrossFit videos now instead of just going to CrossFit places to work out. So whatever you're doing, just put it in that description of exercise, okay? If you're unsure if I'm going to give you credit for it, just let me know, okay? Right off the bat, one thing that I will not give you credit for is just going to the gym and doing free weights without a purpose, okay? So if you're just going to the gym and you're just doing a circuit on the machines and you're just going from one to the other, I'm not going to accept that. There has to be some cardio mixed in with it. So if you're mixing it up and doing some high intensity stuff in a gym where you know you're going and doing some reps on whatever it is, and then you're going over to the treadmill and you're doing some sprints, and then you go back to weights, and then maybe you do some burpees, and then so if you're doing something where you're elevating your heart rate, and even if you're only doing it for 15 or 20 minutes, I will accept that as long as it's cardio, because I'm looking to see your heart rate. Are you getting your heart rate up into your target zone? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So just if you have a question about what you're doing and whether or not I'm going to accept it, just ask. Okay. And then what I usually do is I will take questions that are asked and then I will repost them to the whole class, but I won't include your name. But I'll just say, this was asked to me earlier this week, or these were the questions that were asked to me this week, and I share it with everybody. That way, it might have been a question you were about to ask me, and then it's answered for you. Okay. So as far as the log, date, exercise, and then your heart rate. Once you start checking your heart rate, I'm going to want you at least at the end, when you're done working out, you need to check your heart rate. You need to tell me what it is. Okay. Check your heart rate. Do the 10-second rule. Count your pulse for 10 seconds. If you're doing your phone, you don't have to worry about that because it'll calculate it for you. But if you want to do it manually, do 10 seconds. Whatever that number is, that'll be your beats per 10 seconds. You can put that on your log. And then I hope you're doing a cool down. Okay, so part of your workout there should be a warm-up phase. All right, so you just don't put on your clothes and you go out and start sprinting. You should be warming up for about 4 to 5 minutes at least. Some people take 10 minutes to warm up. Whatever works for you. Same thing at the end. When you cool down, there should be a period where you get your heart rate down to a normal level, okay? Almost normal level, okay? It's not going to be your resting heart rate level, but it should be between 100 and 110 beats per minute at the most. If you're still at 115, 120, you probably should still continue to cool down whatever you're doing, whether it's walking or just, walking in place and kicking up your knees. Whatever it might be, whatever you're in, wherever you are working out, okay? Make sure you're doing a cool down. Because what I want to see is at least where are you 5 minutes after your workout or 10 minutes, okay? The best gauge for improvement on your part to see how well you're improving is how quickly you guys recover from your workout. Okay, so again, if this is your first time, it's going to take you a longer time to get your heart rate down to normal. But as you do this more consistently and your body adjusts and acclimates and delivers more oxygen, then over time, you're going to see that it's going to take you less time to recover and get closer to your resting heart rate after you work out, regardless of how vigorous that you do the workout. Does that make sense? So, distance or time is the last thing. Sometimes you may not know your distance, okay, or your time, but try to do one or the other, okay. And this is the log that I just showed you. I have it in an Excel format, and I'll show you in when we go into the course a little deeper. Actually, I think I'll just go ahead and open it here for you. there's always been a little challenge. They take a while to download for some reason from here. There it is. So here's the Excel version of what you just saw, okay? And this is what I have in the course for you. And what I'll recommend that you do is download this document, and then each week that you're going to be turning one in, just save it as week 1, week 2, week 3, so on and so on. Don't keep one running log, because I have to see what you're doing from week to week, okay? If you want to keep one log for yourself and then just copy and paste the current week into a new log, that's fine, okay? But for the purposes of submitting to me, please just turn in one log, okay? And you'll see here already some of the things we talked about. So after you do your carboning assignment this week, you'll be able to add in your beats per minute here and your beats per 10 seconds, put your name, your age, and then you can log all your information, okay, right here. And here's everything that we just talked about. And so you just go down, and like I said, if you do multiple workouts on a day, by all means, make sure you record both, okay? Any questions about the log part? Any burning questions before we move on about anything? And, it might be something that's foreshadowing that's to come, but any questions that are on the top of your head right now that I might be able to answer?
Did you count rock climbing?
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right, so let's move on after the logs. This is the main, those are like two of the big components. Now here is the biggest component of the class, the skill test. What am I going to be expecting you guys to do, okay? So, in between your workouts and the activity that you're doing on a weekly basis, one of the things that I'm going to recommend is that at least weekly or every other week, okay? Because for some of you, it might be too much to do this every week. But at least every other week, I want you to practice one or more of these 3 options that you're going to have, okay? Now, for some of you, you're looking at that and you're like, okay, I'm already ruling out that 1.5 mile run. But for some of you, you might be saying, okay, I already know what I'm going to do. 1.5 mile run, I got that. That's easy. But for some of you, that's the 1.5 mile run and the walk may not look good to you at all. So you might be saying to yourself, okay, well, maybe I'm going to have to tough it out on that 30-minute bike test. All right. So these are your 3 options for the class. Okay. And I have a rubric in there in the course. I'm going to show that to you later. But basically, we have it's a set criteria. It's basically based on age and gender. So you're put into brackets of age. Might be 19 to 29, and then 30 to whatever, and then by gender. Okay, and then you're going to have to meet that expectation based on what it is. So, for example, if you look at, and I know this might be a little bit hard for you to see, but let's look at the walk test for women and men. So the women are on top first. This is the top one. If you are, let's say you're 20 to 29 years old, okay? If you want to get a 90%, an A, the lowest A for the course, then you would need to walk 3 miles in 40 minutes, okay? That's pretty fast, all right? Think about it. A 15-minute mile would be 45 minutes for 3 miles. So you're talking less than 15 minutes per mile on the walk test. Now, I've had lots of students get between 30, I've had some get 36, 37 minutes, but you're really moving. So this is not a walk in the park. It's not, in the mall. This is actually fast-paced, walk, speed walking, okay? Absolutely no running, but you can speed walk as fast as you like through the whole 3 miles, okay? So that's just an example. For guys, the same group, it's going to be 1 minute less, 39 minutes, okay? If you look at the run test, let's say you're 30 to 39. A passing grade is at least 19 minutes and 40 seconds, but if you want an A, it's going to be 15 minutes and 40 seconds, okay? And for 1.5 miles. And for some people, 15 minutes, that's pretty challenging, okay? Because if you figure running at, if you're running at a 10-minute mile pace, which I think is, that's at least what, 5 miles per hour is a 10-minute mile. I'm not sure on the number on a treadmill, but when you get on a treadmill and you speed up, it's doing everything per miles per hour. Okay, it's not a brisk run. You really have to get moving on this. Now, I've had some students run and then they walk for a few minutes, or not for a few minutes, but for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then they get back going, and then they've managed to do okay. It's not recommended because your grade is based on time. So again, the reason why I'm showing you this is because I want you to have a vision of what the expectation is, and this is all in your class. So one of the things that I'm going to want you to do is when you leave here is when you go through the handouts in our course, really take a look at this sheet to see, okay, where am I, where would I like to be, and what do I want to try? Because at least once a week, or like I said, every other week, I would like you to try and incorporate one of these skill tests into what you're doing on a weekly basis. So in between the stuff that you should find more fun, just to be active, whether it's if you're in a soccer club and you play, you play intramural soccer with a club on the weekends. Maybe you do some canoeing on the weekends. Maybe you do some hiking. Those are all fun, active things that are part of the course that you can get credit for as far as a workout. So in between doing some of those things, you need to do this as well, because this is what you're going to be graded on. Does that make sense? Okay. So going back to that video that talks about, doing a variety of different things, that's where this comes into play. Don't focus on this for everything that you do, because you'll burn yourself out and you'll actually probably regress if this is all you ever do. Okay, you can't just do the same redundant things over and over. You have to mix it up and do different things. Otherwise, you really won't make a lot of progress. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So that's the big ticket item of your grade, and we'll talk about the percentages here in just a minute. Okay, we'll also have an option here to do some profile data. Okay, I'll share some dates with you that the college will have some days where if you want to go in and get your blood pressure done, your body fat done. At our next class meeting, I'll be bringing some of these with me, so that way we can do that before you do your skill testing. But you can also do some of this, on your own. If you've just recently seen your doctor for a physical, or you're in Walmart or something, some of them still have the blood pressure cuffs in there that you can get your blood pressure. There's still a few places you can get that on your own. It's not a huge importance right now, but it's something that we're going to do. So keep an eye on this. And I do have a measurement video in the course that'll help with doing circumference measurements, because what you'll learn with exercise is that the scale is meaningless. Okay, scales really serve no purpose. What you should be focused on is your measurements, especially your waist, and then for women, waist and hips. When you start exercising more, you can actually get more benefit from doing your measurements than you can from doing a scale, because obviously depending on what you're doing, if you're doing a little bit of muscle strengthening with your program that you're doing cardiovascularly, which is what I'm going to recommend, you may find that you might stay the same weight, but you might shrink in inches. If you have more body fat to burn, then yes, you're going to lose weight, but there's going to be a time where you might not see much change, because muscle weighs more than fat, and as you develop muscle, then it might throw you off in terms of your numbers, but your measurements will never lie. So if you lose an inch, you'll know that, okay? Because I know everybody in here has a pair of pants in their closet that are one size too small, okay? So if you can get back into those, then hey, something's working, I'm doing something right. And that's probably the best way to check how you're doing in the class, okay? All right. Last few little things. Check the course updates and correspondence weekly, at least weekly. I usually am on there twice a week, once at the beginning of the week, once towards the end of the week, just so I don't try to miss anybody, because some of you might email me in the middle of the week or at the end. So for me, a couple times a week, I'll be on there checking what's there. But you guys absolutely have to go on weekly, okay? all of your coursework is due by 10:30 p.m. on the due date, all right? Pretty much for this class, it's a Monday class, so all of our stuff, all your assignments will be due 10:30 p.m. Monday nights. So this week, week 1, you go into your folder, you'll see, and we'll see that in a minute, you'll see what you have to get done by this time next week, and you'll have till 10:30 p.m. to get that done. Okay, that's every week. So there's no difference in due dates. I keep everything the day of your class and at 10:30 p.m. Okay? And there's probably a little 30-minute window in there too, so if it's between 10:30 and 11, it usually takes it. So just keep that in mind. That way it makes it easy for you guys to remember, and you don't have multiple dates for things to be turned in, and then it keeps things pretty consistent. Attend the mandatory physical test meetings at Tomball Wellness Center. You will have to attend both. There's a practice test that we'll do in next month in February, and then we'll have another one at the end of the semester. Okay. In between there might be some opportunities for you to do an additional day. Okay, and I'm usually pretty good about offering an extra day, whether it's for someone who's struggling a little bit and they're trying to get their grade up, or for someone who's just an overachiever and wants to do better. Okay, I had a couple of students last year that they did that. You know, had a couple guys and a few ladies that did really well on their test, but they were just like, no, I think I can do better. And then I had a few that were in the other end where they needed that extra day or two to actually improve their score and try something different. And it works out to their advantage. So keep that in mind. I'll give you those opportunities. And then exams. You'll have 2 exams, pretty much 2 big exams, a midterm and a final. You'll take those at the assessment center, and it can be any assessment center. So if you live close to here, you can come to Creekside. It'll be offered at all of them. So I'll put it that way, okay? And you have to take your test at the assessment center. It will be on the computer, and you'll have, like your entire course period. It usually won't take you that long, but you'll have to do that at the assessment center. So I had a few students ask me last semester, I couldn't take my test, I couldn't take it from home. And I'm like, really, you didn't read. So just pay attention to the reminders so that way you don't put yourself in that situation. And also, refer to your course syllabus for support, due dates, etc. When we open up the syllabus, you'll see that there's a calendar at the end. I would recommend that if some of you keep notebooks, print it out if you're a paper person. If not, just keep your calendar pretty available so you know what's going on. Okay. And then at the bottom here, you'll see that there's a newsletter. Okay. Usually every month, the Tomball Wellness Center puts out a newsletter, and they have opportunities for not only just for what's going on at the Wellness Center. So for example, if you were available on the 27th to go do blood pressure and body fat, it's being offered at the Wellness Center. If you wanted to do that, you could do that at the Wellness Center. This is all open to everybody. So every month when I get one, this is just for January, they haven't given me February yet. When I get that, I will post it to the class so that way you guys can see what's there. The other cool thing about the Tomball Wellness Center is that they offer classes. Okay, so the classes are 4:30 to 5:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then alternate 30s. So you have aerobics, there's Pilates, there's yoga, and they have Zumba, I guess, just started in the last couple of semesters. So if that's of interest to you and you're able to get over to Tomball at 4:30 to 5 on those days or at any of those times, take advantage of that. You're a student, you have access to it, gives you something else to do during the week that's different from what you're normally accustomed to. You have an instructor. Sue is actually an employee with Tomball. She teaches some of the classes, and I know her really well, and she's a great instructor. So you guys would enjoy that. Okay, so take advantage of those opportunities. And then the rest of the newsletter will just be some different notices. If you want to do the Remind app, you'll have this. You can click on that and do that as well, and then you can just get the reminders to your phone about what's going on. And so that way, you have access to all these different things. The rest of the newsletter is just what it is, a newsletter. So I'm not going to go into all that, but that will be accessible to you. Okay. Okay. So let's go let's go into, okay, so it's 6:30, we've been here an hour. Let's go into the course real quick. Okay, so all of you, I'm sure, everybody is familiar, obviously, with logging into your Lone Star account and accessing the online courses. So everybody know how to do that. I'm sure some of your face-to-face classes, your teachers also use the D2L as a dashboard to store their curriculum and maybe handouts and stuff. But everybody knows how to get here, correct? Okay. All right, so in our course, what I'll do is I'll switch to student. In our course, this is what you're gonna see. Basically, everything that I've set up for you, all of your dates are in the calendar. So on that far, your right, my left, the calendar will keep you up to date on all your due dates, everything that's coming up due. And then in the middle, I do use the news posts. So I will post stuff there for you just to kind of keep you up to date on what's going on. I'll give you a lot of additional information that's not part of the course, that is something you have to do, but I'll give you a lot of extra stuff. If I find some good articles that I'm given, if it's, whether it's on nutrition or if it's on, a 15-minute workout from home, I will post that kind of stuff there. So from time to time, you'll see things. Feel free to use it as you like, okay? So most of that stuff in the news, if it's additional information, such as articles, there's no assignments attached to it, it's just for your reading, okay? But I will use the news posts to kind of keep you up on what's going on. Really, the only thing that you have to pay attention to is under content. So under content, I have a couple of tabs. What we just went over now can all be found in this Getting Started. So we were just talking about the course overview. That's basically what we just looked at. So if you want to go back and see any of that we just talked about, it's all there. I have a handouts folder. Pretty much all the handouts, anything that we use in the class that's already attached to a weekly folder can be found in the handouts folder. Okay, so if you're looking for something in particular or you want an extra copy, just go to the handouts folder and you should be able to find stuff. Okay, as you can see, I already have your midterm review sheet on there and your final exam review sheet. Okay, so you already have access to that and can get started on reviewing that information. Here's where you're going to be spending all your time. The way I set up my course is, if you look over here under this tab, weekly folders, I have everything set up into weeks. We have 15 weeks in this class, okay? And each week, you'll have something to turn in, most likely, okay? Some weeks it might just be a log. Some weeks it might be a combination of some things. So, everything is accessible as of today. So you can move as quickly through the class as you like to some degree. There are some assignments actually you won't be able to do until we get towards the end. But if you wanted to go ahead, if you had your book and you wanted to go ahead and run through the chapter reviews for the first 5 or 6 chapters, by all means you have the ability to do that. Everything is open as of today or yesterday, but then it will close on its specified due date. So we'll just look at week 1 because I'm not gonna, I don't want to be redundant and go over every folder. But as you can see here, what you're expected to do is go through each one of these little modules, and some of them are very short. At the very top, it'll tell you what percentage of topics you've completed. There's 10 topics in week 1. So some of them you just might have to click on to open and just look at it, and then you're done. There might not be anything for you to do. The second one, say cheese. Yes, I need a picture of you. I just need a headshot because after you guys leave here today, I'm not going to see you for a couple of weeks. And what I do is I create a workout sheet so that way when I tally your marks when you're running or walking, I can put a face to your tally marks, okay, and make sure that I know who you are. That's going to help me learn your faces. Until I see you the next time. I'm probably not going to remember all of you, and I'm going to be trying to figure out, okay, who's this and who's that. but it helps me learn you guys, your faces a little bit better. So go ahead and do that. And then as you scroll down, you'll just see, each thing that's required. I have a chapter 1, I have a study guide for you. You click on that, download that PDF, and then underneath that, that's the chapter 1 questions. And as you can see, it starts today, or it started on Saturday, and actually chapter 1 will end not next Monday, but the following Monday on the 8th. I give everybody 2 weeks to make sure you have your textbook, whichever format you plan on using, whether you're renting it, going to buy it digitally, buy it hard copy. You probably are pretty. You can imagine the number of excuses I've heard about getting the book. It's been lost. It's taking 30 days to get it. So I figure 2 weeks is plenty of time for all of you to get your book. So as far as assignments that are postponed for 2 weeks, it's only chapters 1 and 2. So technically, chapter 1 is due next Monday, and then chapter 2 is due the following Monday. But I'm allowing you to turn in both on that February 8th, which is 2 weeks from today. Okay? All the other assignments, those need to be turned in on time because they're not part of the book. But for the first 2 weeks, the only 2 things that are in the book will be chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay. I'm not going to go into all the videos, but as you can see here, in the first week, I have a really good video here about how to take your pulse. Okay. So watch the video, practice, get acquainted with checking your pulse. And then that way, it'll make it easier for you when you're doing your workouts. If you're using machines at a gym, then you can take advantage and do both. Try the sensor, see what it gives you, and then do it yourself. And then compare the two. Okay? That way you can kind of see how much you're on or off target with the numbers. Okay? Speaking of the workouts, you don't have to have a gym membership. And I'm pretty sure you guys all figured that out from some of the activities I said you could do for the course. You don't have to have a gym membership. All of you as students have access to any of the Lone Star Wellness Centers. So if I know Sci-Fair has one. I think Montgomery has one. Tomball has one. Okay, so if you want to use those centers, you can with your ID.
Okay, so the question I have is, last year they were doing like $25 for the whole semester at Montgomery. Is it free at all of them, or do I have to play?
Well, as a student, I believe you should be able to access all of them, because were you a student at the time, and because you weren't on Montgomery's campus?
Well, no, I was on Montgomery's campus, and it was still $25 cash.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well then just check, because I don't think that there's. I'm not sure how it is at Tomball. I think I know non-students do pay a membership fee, but I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% sure that students at Tomball have access to it at no charge. Okay, now it's on tape. But I'll double check with my supervisor on that, and then I'll let you guys know. Each one of the colleges may have a different policy on that, but I'll let you know. But you don't need a gym. But if you have a gym membership, obviously use it, but you don't need a gym membership, okay? Okay, so we talked about heart rate. We talked about the Carbonin formula. Here it is again. And then here's exercise week 1's log. So this is kind of how I set up the class for you guys. Each week should look very similar. Each week you go in, you'll have a cardio log week 2. So you can download it from the weekly folder, or like I said earlier, you can just download the 1 copy, keep it, and then just fill it out weekly and upload. Okay? Yes?
Are those drop boxes?
Yes, they are drop boxes. Yeah. So everything is Dropbox in the course. If for some reason the first week or 2 you're having a little bit of an issue with drop boxes, I'm pretty lenient with that. Just email me. We can work some things out on an individual basis. But for most, there shouldn't be any problems with the drop boxes. Did you have a question?
Yeah, this is probably ridiculous, but so whenever we do the assignments, is it like we can write it in on here and then scan it?
You can if you want.
Okay, because
Right.
that's so much easier for me.
Okay.
So if I print it, scan it, and
Absolutely.
give it to you, that's okay?
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So all of the, all of the anything that requires you to write on it, if it's a Word document, if it's an Excel file, obviously they're all, you're all able to type on them and save them and upload them that way, okay? But, if you prefer to print stuff out, fill them in by hand and scan them in and upload them that way, you can do that as well, okay? All the colleges have Microsoft Office, so for some students, they may not have Microsoft Office or be able to send me Excel. And that sometimes happens if you have Mac. Some of you may not have there's all those different configurations. It's not always compatible. So I had to have some students do a few different things. But if you have the software for Mac, then it shouldn't be any issue. But whatever is easiest for you, as long as you can upload and scan it to me, I don't care if you typewriter it, if you handwrite it, you can use your phone and take a picture of it if it gets to that point where that's the only way you can upload it is by taking a picture and emailing yourself. Whatever you need to do to get it to me is fine, but most of you shouldn't have any problem using the formats that are already available, okay? Okay, so that's pretty much it for for the weekly folders. So you basically just go from week to week, and fill those out, okay? Any questions on that? Okay. At the very top is the overview of the class. I got to update that. That's the wrong one. So just to kind of summarize everything, all of you have the syllabus, okay? All of you have this syllabus. It's in the course. I'm going to update the one that's in the handout folder because it's the Saturday one, but I'm going to update that this week. As far as needing to get a hold of me, basically through the course, emailing me, that's going to be the best way to get a hold of me. And if there's ever a situation where we need to have a conference call, I have no problem giving you my work number. We can set up a time and we can have that talk. Okay, so I'm open to that. You'll always have my availability for that. I don't have an office here. I don't really have an office at Tomball because I'm an adjunct. So I'm only part-time. And because of the nature of our class, the best way for us to communicate is going to be through the online course, and then we can set up something individually if we need to talk, okay? Just remember that you do have technical support outlets. If you need it, that's updated. Contact them if you're having any tech issues. Worst case scenario, you need to get onto a campus and upload your work from a campus, okay? If you get to that point where you're having computer problems at home, I will work with you for that initial part, but then after we have that discussion, you're going to need to get yourself over to a campus to get all your stuff submitted and turned in, okay? Because you have a whole week to do that. That shouldn't be too much of an issue, okay? So just keep me in the loop on any problems that you encounter, and then we can, I can work with you. If any of you have any disabilities, okay, that I need to be aware of, okay, just make sure that you have gone to the ADA office, you've talked to one of the counselors, they should give you a modification sheet, straightforward and standard. We can have that conversation after class or over this next week, and if we need to have a conversation by phone, I'll be available for that. But I have those links in there in the syllabus for you, just in case you need information. Okay, so you don't know that that's available for you. If there is a disability that you need to have discussed with one of the ADA office folks, okay, and they will help you out and they will get you on a good program. Okay, we talked about the learning objectives. We've talked about the textbook. Basically, this is how your grade is broken down. As you can see, 40% of your grade is going to come from that skill test. So that test that we talked about, the run, the walk, or the bike, that's the big part of your grade, okay? 40%. All of you should get the attendance grade of 10%. That's basically coming to our scheduled class meetings for the skill test and doing your logs. And we're going to talk about the log numbers in just a second. Yes, what's your question?
I think you just answered it. So the skill test is when we're actually going to be present at Tomball.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. And also your attendance is part of coming to Tomball, because being present and being there gives you the part of your attendance grade as well. Okay, so that's where both of those come into play. And then your midterm and your final, those are going to be 15 points each, 15%. And then your class grade is 20%. Okay, so that's going to be all the busy work and things that I ask you to do. There's going to be surveys, activities to fill out from the book, chapter questions. Nothing too difficult. Just stay on it and get it done, and you should all, have no problem getting all those points. Okay. Again, I don't accept late work unless there is a good reason. So make sure you get stuff turned in by the due dates. Okay. If you're having an issue, let me know ahead of time. Don't let me know after the fact. Just be up front. Let me know what the situation is, and then we might be, we can generally work something out. Okay, so attendance. The other 7 points. So 3 points comes from attending the days that are scheduled. The other 7 points comes from your logs. So that's why I told you earlier, your logs are not a lot of points, but all of you should get those points, because you need every point that you can get for the class. Okay, so 56 workouts is what you need to submit to me over the course of the 15 weeks. Okay, basically that's between 3 and 5 workouts a week. Okay, so some of you might do more on one week than others. Some of you are going to get sick during the semester. You might have a week where you only can get 1 or 2 things done. Just keep that in mind and do the best you can to try to average 3 to 4 workouts a week. Okay, there might be other weeks where you can do a little bit more. Okay, so just it'll go. Some weeks you'll do better than others, but just do the best you can with that, and that's the total points that you need. So you need 56 workouts, and that's why I keep track of them. Okay. One thing you'll notice in your course is that until you reach, you look down here at the bottom, you see where it says, 0. So if you have less than 20 workouts, you're not going to get any points, all right, over the course of the semester. So just over the next couple of weeks, don't be alarmed that you're going to have, there might be a 0% grade for your exercise logs, even though you're turning them in. As you turn them in and you get past 20, you're going to see your points start to accumulate over the semester. So they'll start moving up the ladder. So don't freak out when you're looking at your grade and you see that there's 0 there and it looks like an F. Okay. And in our class, it's typical that for the first few weeks, even to midterm, you might have a little confusion about, okay, well, where do I stand? Okay. Just look at what we've turned in and just add up all your points. That's all you have to do. Just focus on what's been due and turned in, and you'll be able to keep up with what your grade is, and and I'll help you with that with reminders. But especially for this part of your grade, just don't freak out when you see a grade of 0, because it's going to take several weeks for you to get up to 20 workouts, and then from there you'll see your points start to increase. Okay, and by the end of the semester, most of you will have a B or an A average on that aspect of your grade. Under special notes, the only real big factor that we need to address is if any of you ladies happens to get pregnant during the semester, we do have a policy with our with that aspect of the course. And I'll go into that with more detail with anyone. I've had that happen a couple of times over the semester. It's not the end of the world. It just means that we have to do we have to take a few steps. Usually you come back after you've had the baby, and then we finish up whatever was not done. Generally it's the physical skill test, because we can't allow, even in the first weeks, once you've been you're identified as being pregnant, we can't allow students to perform the skill test, just because of the safety of to the parent, to the mom, and to the child. And so that's just a policy we have in place here, but it doesn't mean that you don't finish out what you're doing. And I always work with, I've had 3 students that's happened with, and all of them successfully completed the course. So not that any of you are going to get pregnant during the semester, but just in case something happens, I just like to let everybody know ahead of time how that works. We've gone through the skill test, we've gone through the class grade. Basically, that's just going to be your assignments. We've talked about the exams. There's a link in here for your the testing center. And we really don't need to worry about makeups. Just unless something happens, let me know. Look at all the dates. Look at the dates of the midterm and the final. Look at those dates. Make sure you know you're here. If you already have something scheduled, like now, if it's work related, I need to know about it, as soon as possible. I will make arrangements for those of you who give me enough notice. If there is an issue, we can work something out. But don't tell me, the week of the test, oh, I had this trip planned since the beginning of the semester, and then you don't show up or let me know, and then you come back and say, hey, can I make up my exam? I'm going to say no. So just, keep me in the loop on anything that comes up. Things happen, and I'm pretty lenient when it comes to stuff like that. For all classes, just know that the official day of record is February 1st. Okay, so what that means is if you don't withdraw from drop a course prior to that date, then it will show up on your transcript as a W. Okay, so you have between now and the 1st for any of your classes. If you wanted to drop them, you have until the 1st to do so without penalty. And then the other date is you cannot drop a class after April 11th. Okay, so if you have up until that point. The last day to drop and get a W would be April 11th. So if you decided to try to drop a class afterwards, they would not allow it. And if you didn't complete the course, you might end up getting an F in that course. So just keep those dates in mind in case that comes up in your coursework. Okay, I'm not going to go through all you guys can read all this, but you know the core values of learning. We shouldn't have to talk about that, but I've had several cases in the past where I've had some students try to cheat on an exam, even though I wasn't there. I've had some interesting cases. But just keep in mind, that the college does take that very seriously. Integrity is important, and if something like that happens, then there will be obviously consequences for dishonesty and things of that nature. But I'm pretty sure that doesn't apply to any of you in this room. And lastly, here's your calendar. Okay, so the last part of the syllabus is a calendar. This same calendar is built in to your calendar in the course that you see when you open up the class. So all these due dates, everything that's listed here, all of that will be in the course on the calendar as well. Okay. For those of you who like paper, who need a hard copy of something, I would recommend printing out this 2-page calendar. Okay, then you can keep it in a notebook. You can highlight what you've done, and then you kind of can track your progress. Okay. And then the very last page is just some important assessment information. Just some kind of summing it all up. Just make sure you turn everything into me by 10:30 p.m. on those due dates. Only communicate with me through the course email. Don't send me email through your Lone Star account, because I don't check that every day. And sometimes I may go, I'm supposed to check it at least weekly, but sometimes I might go a week or two because I'm working on the class. I may not get to that email. Okay, but the requirement for the class is that anything that relates to our class needs to be shared with me through the course email. So don't send it to me outside of it. Okay. Make sure you let me know of any medical concerns that might pop up during the semester, and just make sure you communicate with me about everything that's going on. I'm not going to hound you, but if a week or so goes by and I haven't seen you turn in anything, I might just send you a quick email. Hey, what's going on? Are you okay? But I'm not gonna hound you guys for turning in your work. You're all adults, young adults. You know what you're supposed to do. So, and then at the very bottom there, you have some training tips. Now these are just some generic training tips, but some of you might find this helpful in terms of just getting started. So, I give you a little bit of an example that might apply to our class. of a workout schedule. Just maybe, if this is your first time doing something, don't go out there and kill yourself. Maybe start off with, the first 3 to 4 days of just doing 20 minutes of activity, okay? And then work yourself up, build yourself up. But if you're already established, you may not need this, but this is just there for your information, okay? Okay, I know I've talked a lot, and it is now, it's almost 7 o'clock. What questions do you have for me at this point about the class? Are you pretty comfortable with how the class is designed and what's expected of you and what you're going to need to do? Did you have a question?
I was just gonna confirm, so when emailing you, use your D2L.
Right.
Email.
Email me only through logging into the class.
Okay.
So when you log into your account and you go to the class, that's where you should be communicating with me, okay?
Gotcha.
Okay, just through the class, yeah. And, and there are some discussion boards you'll see in the class. I'll remind you about that. I do encourage you guys to, work together as much as you can, like on the review sheets. It might only be a couple of you, but it'll benefit the whole class. So, if you don't mind sharing, that's fine. But at the end of the day, all of you have to study individually for the test. You're not going to be sharing, and doing the test together. So, hey, no harm in having some information out there for others to utilize. But the discussion boards are there. I have several in there for the tests, general questions, any kind of discussion you want to start, we can do that. Okay, that's also available in the class. So, yes.
How do you improve your time as far as the goal, the walk, the jog, or the bike?
Mm-hmm.
So say for example, if your heart rate should be 170 and yours is at 130,
Mm-hmm.
do you suggest more cardio activity to build
Mm-hmm.
the endurance?
So that's a good question. And again, and that's going to be individually based on what your zone is. But the zone is more of a training zone for where you should be when you're doing your exercise. When you're doing an actual test, like where you're testing for submaximal, the heart rate thing kind of goes not out the window, but you're really not going to be utilizing that much. You're going to be seeing that during the week when you're practicing, because you're going to first start off by doing like a mile, and you're going to see what your heart rate is. You're going to see how you respond to it, and then the goal is for you just to keep working harder at either, okay, I'm going to try to walk a little faster this time, maybe reduce my time, because you're going to be keeping track of all those things. So as you challenge yourself to speed up a little bit or go a little bit longer, you're going to start changing that target zone by your own improvement from just challenging yourself. Does that make sense? So the goal then is not so much as what your target heart rate is. Your target heart rate is mainly individually for you, so that way when you're working out, that's the range based on your age, your resting heart rate that you should be working at. It's going to be completely different from this gentleman over here. His heart rate, if he's younger than you, then his heart rate range, his target zone is going to be a lot higher. The older we get, the lower our target zone gets. Okay.
I want to say I remember like a little graph or something, and it was saying fat burn.
Right. And that deals with like the intensity of what you're doing. So generally there's, the higher intensity you go, it's going to talk more about improving cardiovascular endurance. Fat burning might be more in the moderate level, like at the 60 percentile of your target zone, and maintaining that for a period of time. And then as you go higher, you're incorporating other aspects of either endurance, okay, or just training intensity of your heart as well. So the zone is really going to depend on what you're doing, how long you're doing it, what the intensity is, and that kind of thing. Because one person could go out and walk 3 miles at a pretty moderate pace. It might take them 45 minutes, maybe it may take them an hour, okay? They may burn, 400 or 500 calories doing that, okay? Another person could go out and just do a 1.5 mile run. but they run it so vigorously and at a high intensity that they burn just as many calories in maybe, 10 or 15 minutes. So it's really going to depend on what type of exercise, and we're going to talk more about that when we get into the class. We're going to break that up and talk about, the difference between moderate level exercise versus vigorous, and how you should do a little bit of both, and that's going to be something we spend some more time on. Yeah. But as far as improving your score, that's just going to come with getting involved with a program. Just getting yourself acclimated to working out, and then just building yourself up and challenging yourself. And that's why I'm going to have you time yourself. You're going to keep track of your heart rate and also how long it's taking you to go certain distances. That way you can see what you're doing, and then over time, as you improve, then you're going to see those numbers, change on their own because you're doing it more continuously. Okay? Any other questions?
So you did say the only other two times we'll be meeting mandatory would be for the practice test and real test?
Right.
Or
Those are the only other two face-to-face class meetings that we'll have. And like I said, there'll probably be a couple, at least one other time that's an optional time for some of you that will be available. I usually do that every semester. There's always an optional day just for that extra, if you need that extra day to do an additional test and try it again. Okay?
On the initial skills test, are you gonna do measurements?
Yes. Yeah, and you can also do that during the week as well. There's an instructional video that I have on there that shows you how to do it. And we'll talk more about that during this week. I'll share some ideas on where you can get it done for free, actually.
Is it tested on a treadmill or on a track?
I'll give you the option. So we generally test on the track, okay? But I will also allow you to test on the treadmill. And obviously there is some etiquette that goes along with that. You can't hold on to the handles. Things like that. It's only for balancing, just in case, on a treadmill, there's always an opportunity for you to lose your balance and fall. So if you needed to grab on just to kind of hold yourself, that's obviously acceptable, but you can't hold on to the arms and try to speed it up. But I do allow you to do the treadmill as well as an option. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, so make sure that those of you who did come in late that you initialed next to your name, and that you also signed the other page about the video today, and that you got both your handouts. I need the green one back from you. So on your way out, if you could just drop that off on the back table. Just make sure both sides are completed and you signed and dated both pages. The second page at the bottom requires you to print and sign as well, so just make sure you do that. Okay. And if you have any additional questions, you can stay after, and I'll be here for a few more minutes and we can talk about it. Okay? And you can, leave your cards also on the back table when you turn in your green sheets. Okay?